to come.
Good Thursday morning. Opponents of the Silfab solar construction site are happy that they've heard that a pause has taken place. The county says it's done this because they found workers on site who they say were not permitted for the job. They say that's a workplace violation under local regulation. Now, Silfab says it meets all safety environmental standards, but community members still voicing concerns, saying that they're concerned about the hazard chemicals inside this plant and also the fact that it's able to have these chemicals so close to area schools.
Today, state Senate lawmakers are expected to give the final approval on a bill that could shape transportation here in Mecklenburg County for decades to come. The bill would put a 1-cent sales tax on the November ballot. The money from that tax would be used for future projects like the Red Line, Silver Line. The bill is headed back to the House today for a final vote before going to the governor's desk.
All right, here's a live look of I-85 inbound. You can start to see a little bit of a slowdown, not only on our maps, but also a live camera of what's going on there. Nothing out of the ordinary. And then this right here, trucks are blocking a couple of lanes to repair damaged power lines. It's on North Graham Street between Dalton Ave and Keswick, so that may slow you down just a bit. Just be careful as they are making those repairs. Chris?
All right, some last forecast notes. The storm coverage will be less intense than yesterday. High temperatures ranging in the mid-90s, and that peak heat index is a very short time frame, likely 3 to 4 o'clock. It'll feel like 103 to 107. But hey, as we've been saying, it's not 110. So we're on the downway spiral. Now it's only down into the lower 90s. That is just slightly above average instead of near record breaking. So I think that's an improvement.
So we're winning.
Yes.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
a real statement when you say 107 is winning.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow we start
I
winning.
know, right?
Oh my
Process of winning.
goodness.
A reminder, the news does not end here. We are live all day with breaking news, weather, and traffic.
That's on WCNC Plus, where we are streaming live. Join us and stay cool.
streaming live right now at 7 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson.
And I'm Lisa Washington, taking a live look now at the roads this morning. Majestic Storm is going to have a check on your morning commute in just a moment. And the heat wave may be coming to an end, thankfully, if we just make it through today. Chris has more on our forecast for this Thursday.
Yeah, so I'm saying that we're trending in the right direction, but we're not really actually too far off from what we had yesterday. Our high temperature is still getting around 96, so we're only 4 off from the 100 that we had yesterday. It's not as humid, though. That bottom line right there, that's actually the peak that we had for the most humid day of the year last year. So we already met that, and that happened in July. Maybe that's not a good trend. And that 110, we could get as much as, I think, close to about 105. So, hey, that's a little bit better. Then after today, it looks like we're hanging out more in the 90s. So that's going to be some good news. Friday, right on the cusp of 100. Our Monroe, Lake Norman, Dallas, and Anson County camera looking good. This is a great start. We have mostly sunny skies. Heat advisory until 2 to 8, though. This is the shortest you're ever going to have a heat advisory. This is just saying, especially areas right along the I-77 corridor off towards the east could get as much as 105. So let me show you. That's the big difference starting off this morning. 1, at this point yesterday, we were around 80 degrees. 2, our dew point is much, much lower. It's still super humid. This is a humid field of the day, but what happens is a social science, we really put into perspective that yesterday was really uncomfortably warm. All of a sudden you have a morning like this, it's like, oh, this is nice. What a difference. Our Dallas camera showing some upper level clouds, so it does have enough moisture up there that we are going to fire up some storms and a few more clouds a little bit later on. But look where we've been. 98, 98, 100 degrees. And 96 today is at least below that. So you feel weird saying, oh, a cooler 96, but it technically is. And then by tomorrow, we're mainly aiming at the lower 90s to the upper 80s even later on in that 7-day forecast. Check out this. Missed a B on the top. Sorry about that. Number of 100-degree days. Yesterday officially was the 140th time Charlotte since 1878. Crazy. Over 145 years since we've hit 100 degrees. And then we also had June officially 30 times that we've hit this mark. So another one in the books. Hopefully it's the last one for the season, but we'll see. High temperatures, as I mentioned, trending way down into the lower 90s. We even have a little drop down to the upper 80s. Now what goes down must come back up. And we have the mid 90s returning just after the 4th of July. That's where it starts heating up again, but a nice little trend overall. Precipitation chances, it looks like we are going to have a front disturbance. That's why you saw that drop in temperatures. That's Tuesday into Wednesday. But it's today, tomorrow, and Saturday that I think have the highest chance just for the usual summertime pattern where you have a hot and humid environment that will crank up some storms really later on in the day. The reason why we were so numerous as far as the storms yesterday is because the ring of fire. This high pressure system goes in one of these fashions. And what happens is when you hit those almost near record temperatures, the hot, the humid air works together, and this is just enough lift to drive up more storms. So, and look at it, actually continued around the ring before it's starting to fade out on the western side. And our severe weather threat is a little elevated because of that, and also how hot and humid it is. Large hail is a possibility. We had an isolated range of this yesterday, and a lot of us saw some of those smaller areas of hail, so I think you could see hail in some of these sporadic thunderstorms with some damaging winds. But real quick, getting to our future cast, you can see that a storm starts to pop up anywhere between about 2 and 4. Our storm's starting to spread out on and off throughout the rest of the afternoon heading into the evening, and then we should clear out restarting on Friday. Coming up, all of your 7-day forecast. Also, we'll show any future rain chances we have to help you start planning the weekend. But first, we're going to see how traffic is behaving. How's it looking, Majestic?
It's looking pretty good. It's a beautiful start to the day, so can't complain there. I-77, York County, coming in from South Carolina. It's going to be a beautiful start to your day, and thankfully, we aren't seeing a whole lot of congestion right now for your morning commute, but we do have a few things that we're watching as we're looking at my map right now. We'll go ahead and zoom it on in. I want to show you I-85 if you're coming towards the uptown area. Maybe you're going to get on the ramp and get onto I-77. This is what it looks like. This is out towards Graham Street exit, so you can see it's building a little bit traffic-wise. You can see it in our camera and also on our maps here, but honestly, that's nothing too out of the ordinary. It just happens as a lot of people are heading this direction this time of the day. Remember, we've been talking about this. Trucks right now, they're blocking lanes to repair damaged power lines. It's on North Graham Street between Dalton Ave and Keswick. So we'll continue to follow that carefully for you. Minor impacts out that direction. Another accident on Queens Road North at South Caswell Road. You can see some yellow and some orange starting to pop up, indicating that cars are just slowing down a little bit, which is probably good. And then this crash now at W.T. Harris Boulevard at Allister Drive. That's what I'm looking at for right now. But again, not seeing any significant backups on our interstates. Ben.
Majestic, thanks. This morning, work is on pause at the Silfab solar plant in York County.
Investigators found multiple employees on site without proper permits. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane is live in Fort Mill this morning. And Richard, this is just the latest twist in that project that's been facing a lot of pushback from neighbors near the plant.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Lisa. A lot of neighbors are happy about what's happened here. Let me show you. This tape right here is around the gate. They're not letting anyone come through. The gates have been locked. The only folks who are actually able to come on are people who are essential to keeping the building secure while this project has been paused, something that the residents that we spoke to in the area say they're very happy about. Now, county officials, York County officials, paused the controversial project after investigators found workers on site who they say were not permitted to do the job, a workplace violation under local regulations. Now, this comes after there's been ongoing backlash from residents who have expressed concerns about air pollution and potential chemical hazards tied to solar panel production. They say that they feel that it's not safe to have this plant here with nearby schools and close to a residential area. While Silfab maintains it meets all safety environmental standards, community concerns have escalated, and some families reportedly have relocated due to fears over the plant's proximity.
That first feeling, I started crying. We were like, all right, we got to find a home. And it has to be far enough away from Silfab that we won't be rezoned there.
We understand you were voting on a tax incentive. We are here tonight to voice our concerns about the location and the improper zoning based on undeniable facts. 1 million cubic feet of toxic gas stored outside is not compatible just a few feet away from school grounds.
And residents that we spoke to say just the fact that the plant's been closed because of any violations raises their tensions even more. For its part, Silfab says it is meeting with York County trying to get this whole situation taken care of so it can get back to the construction of this plant. Of course, we'll keep you updated. We're right here in Fort Mill. Richard Devane, we'll send it back to you.
And Richard, we just heard from one of those neighbors. You mentioned that some families have relocated. Do you know how many have moved?
Yeah, now, we don't have an exact number. We do know, according to one town leader who said that he had heard of 3 families who actually moved, but we're going to be checking those records to see if any other families have put their homes up for sale or families who were moving into the area have decided not to move into the area. So we can tell you at least 3 families we know for sure, but there could be other families, more than we actually know right now, who have been affected and have chosen to not come here or are planning to move from here because of this plan.
Thanks, Richard.
7:08 right now here on WCNC Plus, and it has been more than 25 years since 9-year-old Aisha Degree disappeared from her Cleveland County home. This morning, North Carolina Governor Josh Stein is adding $25,000 in a reward for information in her case. Despite a number of developments recently, Aisha has not been found. No arrests have been made. Governor Stein's offer is on top of a $75,000 reward. That means anybody with information could receive up to $100,000. If you know anything, call Cleveland County Sheriff's Office or the FBI.
Live pictures over the White House this morning where President Trump is back after attending the NATO summit. As NBC's Alice Barr reports, the president now turns his attention to 2 very important meetings.
President Trump back in Washington after the NATO summit, looking to extend a diplomatic win with the Israel-Iran ceasefire into talks with Iran.
We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know.
The president downplaying the necessity of signing a deal, insisting U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites already accomplish the goal of preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon.
I said, Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up to kingdom come.
He's pushing back forcefully on a preliminary assessment by the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency estimating Iran's nuclear program was delayed by a matter of months.
They presented a report that wasn't finished.
Yes.
They didn't see it. All they can do is take a guess.
Defense Secretary Hegseth said the agency had low confidence in its initial assessment. President Trump citing Israeli intelligence that the strikes set Iran's nuclear capabilities back by many years and rendered the critical underground Fordo site inoperable. Iran also acknowledging its nuclear installations were badly damaged. And the CIA director now says credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program was severely damaged and would take years to rebuild. Two sources say he is among the top Trump officials set to brief senators today who have been pressing for answers.
Do we know whether the uranium was there? Do we know whether the centrifuges were there? What is the state of those facilities?
House members due to be briefed tomorrow. The two sources who spoke to NBC News and a senior administration official say Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard will not be part of the congressional briefings. NBC News has previously reported Gabbard has been increasingly marginalized after testifying in March that Iran had not made a decision to build a nuclear weapon. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
All right, let's talk a little basketball. This morning, dreams are now a reality as the NBA's newest class celebrates its success. Last night, the Dallas Mavericks selected Duke star Cooper Flagg with the #1 pick in the NBA draft. The 18-year-old is now officially the youngest player to be drafted #1 since LeBron James. Reporter Logan Campbell was in Brooklyn last night. She got some one-on-one time with the top pick.
We are with the #1 pick in the NBA draft, Cooper Flagg. Cooper, you are a Dallas Maverick. Has it hit you yet that this is becoming a reality, and what are you looking forward to the most when you get down to Dallas?
Yeah, I think it's starting to hit me a little bit, but not fully. It was such a blur out there once I heard my name called, and everything from there has been kind of a blur. But I think for me, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to learn. Being surrounded by, AD, Kyrie, Clay, those guys that are established and Hall of Fame caliber guys. I think it'll be a great opportunity for me to just learn a lot.
No doubt about it. Cooper, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. We'll for sure miss watching you at Duke.
Thank you.
Good luck in Dallas.
After Flagg's name was called, Hornets fans anxiously waited to see who the team would choose for the 4th pick. Charlotte chose another Duke standout, Con Knippel. He's a shooting guard who a lot of folks say is exactly what Charlotte needs. And fans seem pretty happy with the pick. Check out the reaction when his name was called.
With the 4th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Con Knippel.
Oh man, listen, it was something that the Hornets needed. I'm excited they got that pick. I can't wait to see what these guys are going to do in the future. I'm telling you, it's going to be a new season. I'm looking forward to these Hornets really doing their thing. Man, like they said, they were looking for somebody who was a scorer. They're looking for an athlete. I think LaMelo Ball is going to have a good time grooming this young man to be the best he can be. So, Hornets, Charlotte, we're ready for it.
As you saw, reaction pretty positive.
For sure, Knippel won the ACC championship at Spectrum Center with the Blue Devils back in March. WCNC Charlotte's Logan Campbell caught up with him right after he was drafted in Brooklyn.
All right, guys, we are here with the newest Charlotte Hornet and the 4th overall pick in the NBA, Con Knippel. Con, has it hit you yet? You are staying in North Carolina and you're going to be in Charlotte.
I'm super excited. I love North Carolina this year, obviously. Had a lot of fun, and I'll just be down the road.
Take us through that moment when you heard your name called. What were you feeling?
Just a lot of gratitude. What an extreme blessing from God. Sharing it with your family is also just a really, really special feeling.
Yeah, why did you bring all of your brothers up on stage with you? What was the importance of that?
That's something ESPN wanted to do, but also I think it just showed what family means to me. It's always fun to go up there and do something fun with those guys.
Talk about family. Duke has a brotherhood. You had Cooper Flagg go first. Kaman got taken 10th. To have 3 of you go in the top 10 in the NBA draft, how special is that?
Oh, it's so special. I mean, I think it's big time. It shows where Coach Shire's program's at. Hopefully, I know for a fact that the brotherhood will keep it going.
What was it about Charlotte during this draft process that you thought, okay, I could see myself playing there?
Yeah, I mean, having the interviews at the Combine and then in my visit there with the team, getting to know Jeff Peterson and Coach Lee a little bit, it was really special. You know, they're really, really good people, and I felt that right away from that first interview at the Combine. And so I'm super glad they pulled the trigger, and I can't wait to be a Hornet.
It doesn't hurt that you're used to winning inside the Spectrum Center. What can Charlotte fans expect to see from you this season?
Yeah, well, they're going to see, I loved it in the draft they showed me diving on the floor for my clip. So they'll see some more of that, and hopefully some threes going down.
All right, Con, congratulations. We look forward to watching you in Charlotte.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And we were live right here on WCNC Plus as those picks came in last night.
Not only were we the first to bring you the Hornets pick, but WCNC Charlotte Sports Director Nick Carboni and Jeremy Grandinson of Lock It or Leave It helped break down the Hornets' choice right here on WCNC Plus.
What does this pick tell us about the Charlotte Hornets, who selected a very young, project player last year, now select a very young, more proven commodity this year and pass up on maybe some more developmental guys like Ace Bailey and less so Trey Johnson? What does it say about where they think they are right now?
One word: character.
Okay.
Tijon, high motor. This guy cares. He's in the gym all the time. When I would go to those shoot-arounds, those post-practice things, Tijon's always the last guy in the gym, getting in more work. I think Con fits the same bill. This guy's a winner. He cares. And, of course, it's easy to say those things, but when you see other reports of what Ace Bailey's doing and all these other things and these other speculations, I do think that Con fits what Jeff and Charles have been preaching the entire season, and that's that they want a guy who's ready and a guy who is willing to go in every day, try to get better, even if that means you might get some hard coaching at times.
It's very easy to say that this is an immature Charlotte Hornets team, and that's all you hear about from the outside. I do think there are some truths to that in certain respects. Does this pick help mature this team, even though he's 19 years old?
Maturity-wise, I'd say no.
Okay.
But what I would say is you know exactly what you're getting. You can have Con walk in day one and be able to contribute to an NBA team. I think that's what the Hornets are looking for. Again, guys like Trey Johnson are maybe more talented, more skillful, but fit-wise, Con Knipple next to a guy like LaMelo Ball who can find him in his spots. I think that's a match made in heaven.
You can always watch exclusive coverage like that right here on WCNC Plus. We also know the Hornets did make a trade last night. They traded center Mark Williams to Phoenix in exchange for the 29th pick and chose Liam McNeely out of UConn. The Hornets will introduce their draft pick on Friday.
Chris is putting on his sports hat now.
Yeah.
What did
Yes,
you
ma'am.
think of the draft, the first round last night?
I thought it was good for them. I think the best thing about Con is he's ready to go now. And
Right.
I think that's kind of what they need. They don't need a player that's going to work on their athleticism. Now, the big thing that I was just really hearing for a lot of correspondents is his defense isn't great. Because
Okay.
the NBA is so high scoring anyways. He can shoot the ball. And the best thing was when Cooper Flagg went down, he led the team. So he also showed that he can be a leader. So I think that that's great. And they're also saying Liam could be one of the steals of the draft because at one point he was a potential lottery pick. So as I mentioned, this is the turning point. Turning things around.
There you go.
Okay.
Love the optimism.
You got it. Right.
Turning things around to the forecast new. Now you're putting on your weather cap.
Oh, there it is. All right. We are looking at a chance for rain and storms today. So I last left off with you talking about, hey, the heat. We are feeling like 105 once again, and that heat and humidity, if it's just lifted up enough, could allow for some showers and storms. So I want to roll through that, what you can expect over the coming hours. Once we get to about the middle of the afternoon, that's where we're anticipating a little bit more activity as far as the storms go. So let's restart this for you. We are expecting, I think, our first storm chance really popping up, I think, northwest of Charlotte, getting closer to about 2 o'clock. This is kind of the timing yesterday started to fire up in the foothills. Sometimes the clouds are able to reach their maximum height a little bit earlier up there, and then those storms start popping up 1 to 2 to 3, and it's the outflow boundaries that kind of just trade off. You saw these two cells start to collide together. That's literally a storm popping up, the cool air from the rain spreading out into the hot and humid weather, allowing for more storms to pop up. That's why these are so unpredictable that there's some of you that probably saw rain for well over an hour, right? Or an active lightning show or hail for 10 to 15 minutes, while others just saw a little bit of rain or saw some lightning off into the distance. So I think that's going to be a case and scenario here today. It just depends on where some of the bigger ones start to set up. But regardless, I think this should be out of here by midnight. We don't really have a big window for severe weather. Just really any storm could at least have some heavier rain and also a chance for that hail and all the above once you get to about the late afternoon heading into the evening. Notice our 7-day forecast going forward. We have 96 degrees today, but no other red days, at least for the time being. We have a heat advisory that goes from 2 until 8 o'clock. That is going to allow where we have a peak heat index up to about 105. I think in general, if those clouds start to take over, hopefully it will suppress this enough. Not as hot as yesterday, still hot. There's a noticeable difference already this morning though, and then we have the lower 90s going forward. So I bet you've never been so excited to see the lower 90s, which is still slightly above normal as we end the month of June and officially start July on Tuesday. But note, each and every day has a chance for those summertime storms to pop up later in the afternoon heading into the evening. Well, let's see what's happening right now with traffic. Hello, Majestic.
Hi, everyone. As you're heading out this morning for your Thursday morning commute, let's take a look at those drive times. We'll start with this. It's going to take you about 40 minutes if you're coming in from Gastonia. If you're coming in from Matthews, about 22 right now. So starting to see more people wake up and head out the door. I-77 in York County. It is a gorgeous start to the morning. Sunglasses, water bottle. We got to start hydrating right now. You can see we do have some slowdowns and some accidents. I want to highlight this right here is I-85 coming inbound. Maybe you're going to get on I-77 from there. There's a live look of I-85 here. That's at Graham Street. So starting to see more cars come in our direction. Again, nothing too out of the ordinary. And then as we're looking at this crash right here, the right lane is now blocked because of it. It's on W.T. Harris Boulevard, impacting westbound lanes at Idlewild Road. Still seeing mainly green, but that might slow you down a couple of minutes. This one here has been ongoing for a little while now. It's on Queens Road north at South Caswell Drive. And then off to the east right here, right lane, it's blocked because of a crash. Continuing to follow this one, westbound lanes there. We'll have another check on our maps all coming up here shortly.
Hi, this is Larry Sprinkle. Time for On This Day in History. And on this day in history, this became a very famous signature. Whose signature is it? It just happens to be J.K. Rowling. And the first volume of 7 in the Harry Potter series of books happened on this day, June 26, 1997. By the way, I had 2 different names. In England, it was known Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. In America, in the United States, known as Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. By the way, it spawned 8 films, Harry Potter. So that famous book on this day in history, June 26, 1997, the first in the Harry Potter series of books. That's On This Day in History. I'm Larry Sprinkle.
Thanks, Larry. The David and Nicole Tepper Foundation just announced a $10 million donation.
It's a lot of money, and it comes at a critical time for families who are struggling to put food on the table. WCNC Charlotte's Anna King shows us how one group is using that money to seek solutions for those in need.
Yeah, I've spoken to multiple food pantries these last few weeks who are struggling to make ends meet and unfortunately had to turn people away solely due to cuts. Now they say this grant will be a major solution to a growing problem. Inside Champion House of Care in Charlotte, the need for food is growing fast.
People are out of money. They're not receiving their benefits to go to the store to shop to get food. And of course, kids are out of school. So mothers are trying to figure out, how am I going to feed my family?
Pantry shelves are thinning and pantries are being pushed to the brink.
Having to turn families away, that part hurts.
But just as the pressure builds, a major lifeline arrives. The David and Nicole Tepper Foundation is donating over $10 million to 10 food banks serving the Carolinas, including Second Harvest Food Bank of Metrolina.
We need, desperately need money to replace those food losses, to be sure that we can continue to feed people in the community.
Kay Carter, the CEO of Second Harvest Food Bank of Metrolina, says the gift comes at a time when public funding has taken a hit.
So I certainly would expect that we will use the funds to, to roll additional food out to those emergency pantries all throughout our region.
One of those pantries, Champion House of Care.
We did a double yesterday, and even today, we've already doubled. We've already handed out 25 boxes. There's actually 2 of them going out the door right now.
And organizers say this donation will help keep pantries stocked for now. But with the demand only growing, they're calling on others to step up too. In Charlotte, Anna King, WCNC Charlotte.
A new study this morning shows that the happier you are, the more money you're likely to have. Research finds people with an optimistic outlook tend to save more. In fact, they save nearly 17% more than their less optimistic peers. It also shows that optimism matters most for those with lower incomes. Looking at the bright side of things can help overcome financial stress and encourages saving despite money being tight.
Interesting correlation there.
It is, because so often you hear, money can't buy happiness, but perhaps happiness can help you save some money.
Yeah, at least.
So if you're optimistic, then you're supposed to be rich?
I don't know.
I don't know about rich.
I was going to say, Chris is the most optimistic person I've ever met in my whole life.
Right.
He's probably like a billionaire at this point.
No, it doesn't apply to everyone. There are some that did not reach the criteria. I'm not going to say anyone who, but But no, I think that it's really cool that there is some sort of exchange. Happiness. I think honestly nowadays Americans would be just happy to be debt free. Like imagine if the house was paid off or the student loans paid off. So I don't know. Bar changes.
That'd be nice.
That'd be nice. All right, 7:25 right now as we take a live look right now over Uptown. Another check of your weather impact forecast or weather impact alert again this afternoon, plus a look at your morning commute coming your way right here on WCNC Plus. Keep it here.
Good morning, everybody. Storm coverage less intense than yesterday, so I think we have less storms. But hey, still going to be a possibility for a strong storm. So even though if you have a low storm chance or severe storm chance, still could have a chance for some gusty winds. Even more hail today. We do that type of an environment. Most likely not severe hail, but still hail nonetheless, like yesterday. We had high temperatures in the mid to the upper 90s, mainly the mid 90s, and I think the highest heat index we have across the area is 103 to 107. That's still hot, but technically not as bad as yesterday. Heat index matching the temperature right now, but you can expect to feel like 100 degrees, likely between about 1 to 4 o'clock. Better chance for storms to end the afternoon to head into the evening. Majestic, what's going on traffic-wise?
All right, let's get the day going. It is a beautiful start to our Thursday morning. If you're heading out the door, there's a quick peek at your drive times, 25 minutes right now if you're coming in from Belmont. Not seeing anything too out of the ordinary. I-77, plenty of sunshine coming straight out of York County there. Want to show you my traffic maps because, yeah, there is still some activity, but nothing that's going to majorly slow everyone down. Now, we do have our typical backups here on I-85 inbound. You can see it here on my map. You can also see a live camera view of what's going on there. As we're heading a bit more south, right lane blocked because of a crash on W.T. Harris Boulevard, westbound at Idlewild Road. We'll have more coming up on WCNC Plus. Hope to see you then.
Good morning. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us live on WCNC Plus at 7:30. I'm Lisa Washington. As we brace for more hot temperatures this summer, it may surprise you to learn that not every part of Charlotte feels heat the same way. Some areas can actually feel several degrees hotter, even if they're only a few blocks apart. WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards is live in Charlotte this morning. And Destiny, this is something that Charlotte is trying to address.
Yeah, believe it or not, there is a reason why some parts of Charlotte feel hotter than others. This is something that is measured and tracked. It's called an urban heat island. So all of the pavement and the buildings and the concrete in our city, they absorb heat throughout the day, and then that's released at night. And that's generally why cities are hotter than rural areas. Now, according to Charlotte heat mappers, areas like Uptown, South End, and Noda are heat hotspots due to less vegetation and ongoing development. Experts say tree cover is a powerful defense, and that's what you'll find on our greenways, in parks, and in suburban neighborhoods. They don't just provide shade, they cool the air by releasing water vapor through their leaves, which is a process called transpiration. But not all neighborhoods have equal access to this relief. That's why local groups like Trees Charlotte are working to plant more trees, especially in neighborhoods that need them the most.
When you see a more affluent neighborhood, usually the tree canopy is more robust, and they have the benefit of having those bigger, older trees because they were planted there historically a long time ago. So with Tree Charlotte, what we are trying to do to combat that is to focus on planting in the most underserved and under-canopied neighborhoods in Charlotte. Our mission is to first focus on those areas to try to build back those canopies.
Yeah, Tree Charlotte does a lot of outreach. They have planting events, tree planting events. They do tree giveaways. This all happens between September and March, which is the best time to plant trees. And then they also do their own efforts, and they can only plant on private property. So they actually ask people to reach out to them if their neighborhood, their school area needs more trees in the area, and you can reach out to them. We have information on how to do that in this story on the WCNC Charlotte News app. Ben, Lisa.
And so, Destiny, you mentioned that they have this heat mapping data. How does that help the city to respond to that extreme heat? I guess they're determining where they want to plant the trees.
Yeah, so outside of Tree Charlotte, I also spoke with Matthew Easton. He is a professor, an associate professor of meteorology at UNC Charlotte. He's also a part of Charlotte Heat Mappers, which I needed him to explain the urban heat island effect, to explain heat mapping in general. And basically on one day back in July last year, they had 60 volunteers as a part of Charlotte Heat Mappers, and they put sensors on their cars. They drove through planned areas of Charlotte on planned streets at different parts of the day. So in the morning, the afternoon, and at night. And that's when they found what areas of Charlotte were the hottest. So basically surrounding Uptown, Noda, South End. He specified near the rail trail, especially areas that have a lot of development and concrete and things like that. And then it's actually areas like where we're at in South Charlotte. We are in Freedom Park. So our parks, greenways, golf courses even, and then neighborhoods surrounding there have better tree cover. So all of this data isn't just to, track temperatures, it's also to help guide solutions in the city. And there are a couple ways that this data is used. And one of them is help city and nonprofits decide where to plant trees. So that's why we spoke with Tree Charlotte to find out what they're doing. This information helps inform that. It also informs plans for green roofs, shade structures, and cooling stations throughout the city. And then it exposes heat inequality. So areas of Charlotte in the wedge, as it's called, or sorry, not the wedge, the arch, which is North Charlotte, West Charlotte, East Charlotte. Those are the communities where there might be historic redlining, racial and socioeconomic inequality that has led to fewer trees, a lot of development happening, and just not as much tree canopy as you would see in neighborhoods like Myers Park with large giant oak trees that have been around for a long time. So all of this is just helping to inform the city as well as nonprofits who are doing the work to try to basically make Charlotte more sustainable as we continue to have really hot summers.
Heat inequality. Never heard that term before, right, Disney? Thank you so much for explaining that. And of course, all this talk about heat. Let's find out more about our forecast for this Thursday, as this is another weather alert day. And it really does make a difference when she talks about those tree canopies, Chris. I mean, you can feel it.
We are Tree City, USA, and the reason why you could feel it is in the shade. Sometimes it's either equal to the actual temperature or 5 degrees cooler. Meanwhile, if you're in direct sunshine or over onto the concrete, you're talking about a difference of up to 20 to 30 degrees, just depending on the temperature. But it's all about the sunshine. As that sun shines heading into the city, there's one thing that happens. The surrounding areas are cooler because buildings and roads absorb more sunlight. Now, oftentimes it's not a huge difference, sometimes just by a little bit, but the biggest thing is at night, because this creates a heat dome. What have we been talking about recently? A giant heat dome. This is just kind of like a micro scale of that. Whenever you have that, it's a relatively warmer temperature, and sometimes it can be even strong enough to fire a few storms in the outskirts, again, just as we saw on the big scale yesterday. Now, our urban heat areas are always going to remain a little bit warmer at night, sometimes by a big difference. We actually saw that this morning, where it was 71 degrees in Charlotte. Look at the surrounding areas. 68s over here in Gastonia, over to Lincolnton. About a similar temperature in Concord, because they have a similar effect with wide area of a lot of concrete and buildings. Now let's get out our popsicles. It's summertime, y'all. Here are your headlines. Today, last heat advisory. We will be in the lower 90s after this. We'd have to be overly humid to get another heat advisory when you have temperatures in the lower 90s. It's usually upper 90s and above that will trigger this. Our storm chances, a low severe threat. So not like yesterday. Yesterday we had a lot of big storms, especially with a lot of active lightning and stuff. I don't think you're going to be able to see that as much today. And then tomorrow we're a little bit close to the normal, the lower 90s, as I already spoiled. And then more storm chances Friday through Sunday. So we're going to keep those storm chances around. But look where we've been. 96 is great compared to 98, 98, 100. I know it's not a huge difference. Really, tomorrow is really where it's the big downfall in temperatures. What about our rain chances? Well, they're elevated over the next few days. Then we start to take more of a break. So if I were to pick a day that I think is going to remain dry, it's Sunday over Saturday as of right now. Monday looks like it should share that commonality. And then we also have a likely chances of front moves through on Tuesday, which could create a actually drier and cooler Wednesday. Here's what's been happening recently. We still have this ring of fire. Sometimes the outskirts of a high pressure system like this, especially right here, can drive in some cooler air. It triggers everything, gives you some lift, and then fires up storms like what we saw yesterday. Today, it's a little different scenario. Look at how quickly everything moves. It just intertwines. That's the outflow boundary that we often see during the summertime. So let's rewind. I'm going to slow that down for you. Couldn't process all that. We start to see storms develop right here around 3, but here I'm going to animate this. Notice the directions of the storms, how they start to crisscross like this. This is one line that's forming around Asheville, but then meanwhile, it starts to trigger another storm because it's cool air that it pushes out starts to fire up more storms. That's the way that this evening's going to work, and that's why it's really unpredictable, because they're twisting, they're bending, they're growing, and it's really on their own fruition what they're going to form. We can just really just know the timing. So it's really from 2 to 10 that I think we're going to have the most active activity. Still could have some active lightning going beyond that. For our 7-day forecast, here's the good. Only one red bar, lower 90s Friday through Tuesday, and who's that? The 80s? Well, barely. 89 degrees on Wednesday, but we're trending in the right direction. Majestic. Pretty pumped about it, actually.
Looking forward to it as well. I think we're all going to be ready for a little bit of a cool down after all that heat. Hey, if you're heading out the door anytime soon, it is a beautiful start to the day, and I want to show you a couple of our live traffic cameras. This is I-77 in York County. So coming in from South Carolina, you can see traffic is flowing nice and smooth. Not seeing much congestion there right now. Do want to show you I-85 though, because we are seeing our typical slowdowns coming inbound. There's actually a live look. This is I-85 looking at Graham Street there. All right, let's talk about a couple of accidents. We've been following this one here on WT Harris Boulevard, but it has actually been clear. We're just still seeing a little bit of a slowdown there. That should wrap up here pretty fast. Another accident, it's on Queens Road North at South Caswell Drive. You see that orange? That's indicating just slow traffic right around it. As we head over to areas right around Lake Wiley, we have a crash on Wrights Ferry Road at Michael Lynn Road. Again, seeing some colors pop up not seeing anything significant, but it might slow you down just a bit. I-77 starting to see those slowdowns as people are heading more south this morning. Other than that, though, this is really what I'm watching. I'm not seeing anything significant, Lisa, whether people are driving in North or South Carolina.
Majestic, thanks so much. 7:40, and right now nearly a dozen people are in custody after an ICE operation at a local business. ICE says it was executing a criminal search warrant at the Buckeye Fire Equipment Company. WCNC Charlotte's Siobhan Raleigh was there as dozens of protesters stood outside waiting to hear about their loved ones.
ICE says about 300 people work at the business. This is an investigation they said they are taking very seriously. I talked with folks who waited for hours for their loved ones to be released.
Shame on ICE! Shame on you!
Dozens of protesters stood outside at Buckeye Fire Equipment Company in Kings Mountain Wednesday afternoon after ICE executed a criminal search warrant at the company. Josephine Bierstrom, who works at the business, says she and her colleagues were stuck inside since about 1:00 p.m. and investigators made employees give up their personal items, including their cell phones.
They made us all take everything out of our pockets. They patted us down. They searched us. They made us put all of our personals in a plastic bag. They taped the bag shut and wouldn't let us get to our personal belongings.
Lindsay Williams, an ICE spokesperson, said the operation was linked to claims of identity theft.
So potentially, these are allegations that the employer or somebody in their charge used fraudulent documents or incorrect documents to allow people who aren't authorized to work in this country to work.
Where's my cousin?
Julia Perez is one of many protesters advocating for her cousin who was inside the building.
People have human rights. Those rights are being violated left and right.
Perez says her cousin called to say they were told to turn off their cell phones. That's the last she heard from her family member.
My biggest fear is my family being ripped apart. The community here supports the Hispanic community.
During the time we spoke with ICE, some employees were still inside while others were cleared to leave. Employees who were able to leave were escorted by officers and asked more questions.
They asked to see our ID. They asked for our birth date, where we were born, and asked us questions about whether we know about any illegals working at Buckeye or any illegals using somebody else's social security number.
Siobhan Riley, WCNC Charlotte.
People have rights!
We are told the number of people detained could increase. Williams says it's still not known if anyone with the company will face charges. 7:42, and we are on top of some breaking news right now in East Charlotte. This was a water leak. Take a look. These are live pictures near Circle Avenue and South Chase Street. You can see the water just pooling into the street there. We're told it's also pooling into those nearby yards. Thankfully, though, it is not blocking any traffic. However, it could cause quite a mess this morning for some of those yards. Just look at that water pooling out there in the street. You can see it actually bubbling up. Now, we have reached out to Charlotte Water, in fact, just a few moments ago, and they tell us that the storm delayed other companies from locating the underground utilities like gas and fiber. Once that has been done, later this morning, the crews will dig and repair that water leak. Again, we'll continue to look at this, a water leak here in East Charlotte at Circle Avenue and South Chase Street this morning. Quite a mess. We're going to keep a little box up so that you can see that water leak there. Other news this morning in Kings Mountain, 2 adults and a child are recovering after they were trapped inside a house. Look at this video. You see that large tree there just laying on the home. Neighbors tell us the child was around 4 months old. Thankfully, officials say everyone appears to be okay. Big changes could be on the way for voters in Monroe. State lawmakers just passed a bill that would move the city's elections to even-numbered years and make them partisan. That means that candidates for mayor and city council would have to list a political party on the ballot. Supporters say it would bring more transparency to elections, while the critics worry it will make the races even more political. That bill now heads to Governor Stein's desk. This morning, Waxhaw's Town Council is awaiting an apology after the mayor used profanity during a recent meeting.
I'm done with all y'all. I'm done. Done with the jokes. I'm done being coy.
Mayor Robert Murray used the F word a handful of times while expressing frustration over the proposed tax rate. That language caught many people off guard. While some are calling for an apology, others feel more understanding.
And if the mayor has to be accountable for his actions, then your apology needs to be as loud as your disrespect for what did happen.
I can understand his frustration, and we all lose patience from time to time, so try to be forgiving about that.
Waxhaw is scheduled to have the next town council meeting in a couple of weeks. Actually, they're going to have that on July 8th. 7:45 now. It is time for us to connect the dots. That's when we make the news make sense. Political party loyalty isn't what it used to be. New data shows a record number of voters are stepping away from traditional labels, and it's changing the political landscape. More voters are breaking away from the two-party system. Let's connect the dots. A new NBC News analysis shows independents and third-party registrations are growing fast. In 2025, 32% of registered voters chose not to join the Democratic or Republican parties. That's up from 23% in 2000, a record high. Experts say many voters are frustrated with politics and feel parties don't represent them. Younger voters, in particular, are rejecting party labels altogether. North Carolina has seen an especially sharp increase in independent registration. In 2024, nearly 39% of the electorate was unaffiliated with either major party. Even in deep red or blue states, voters are opting out of traditional party lines. But even as more people register as unaffiliated, most still vote for major party candidates. Still, the shift is creating challenges for both parties. And that's connecting the dots. This morning, we are hearing from one of the victims who was struck by lightning at a South Carolina lake. 22-year-old Tegan Billiot says she was swimming with friends near buoys when the lightning hit the water.
Everyone in the water just like completely darted out. It looked like a scene from the Jaws movie. Like everyone was literally gone. It was very painful, almost like a bunch of tasers just kind of go off on you.
Billiot says the strike left one side of her body numb. She also experienced an irregular heartbeat, memory loss, and she wasn't able to walk afterwards. She is back home this morning. She will be on bed rest for the next week. We are all feeling these high temperatures when we get into our cars. Vehicles can trap heat inside and make just really for an uncomfortable and potentially dangerous ride. Tara Jabbour has advice from experts about some things you can do to keep yourself safe.
The heat is here and you can feel it every time you get into your car. Chris Moore, the battalion chief with the Upper Arlington Fire Department, says the temperature can rise drastically in your car in just a few minutes.
On a day like today, sunny, 95, we can see temperatures over 130 degrees inside a closed car. And the rate of temperature rise is very quick, so 2 degrees a minute.
We decided to see how quickly our car could heat up in about 10 minutes. The first temperature, about 101 degrees. 10 minutes later, we came back and the thermometer read 117 degrees, a 16-degree difference in just 10 minutes. Chief Moore says never leave your child or pet inside of the car during these extreme temperatures.
Even a 5-minute interval, we're going to see a huge temperature increase, and we can start to see symptoms of heat exhaustion or heat stroke in that interval with certain kids or anybody that has a medical condition.
Moore says if you see a kid in a locked car that is not running, do something right away.
We want to call 911 immediately so that we can get responders on their way, and then it is a very good idea to check inside the local businesses, see if you can find the owner or driver of the vehicle, because we do need to get that pet or person out of that car as quick as possible.
Always check your back seat before leaving the car, and if you have to, put a purse or a backpack in the back seat. That way you don't forget to check.
That was Tara Jabbour with that report. Now, experts say it is best to stay inside between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. if possible, since that, of course, is the hottest time of the day. But I know, like, leaving work here in the middle of the afternoon, when I get to my car, it is like incredibly hot in there. Put the windows down, turn it on, crank on the AC.
And around 12:30 is also our peak UV as well. So you get that sun blaring right down on you. And yesterday it felt like 105 at one point, I think, like right around the lunchtime hour. I want to get to this. Check this out. So this is really specific data, but we found it.
Okay.
Going back to 1941, this is the 8th highest heat index that we've had in Charlotte history. So
Wow.
we said 110, of course we round these numbers up, but
Yeah.
to the decimal, to the 10th decimal, we are just outside of that. But that's like splitting hairs considering that the hottest day ever been is 111.5. So.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, it's nice to be in the record books, right?
Sure.
No, let's move on. We are actually looking at a downward trend after this, but I want to talk one more stat about yesterday. Really, once you reach the top, it's only downhill, so you put things in perspective. We will not have another day this hot for at least the rest of the week. I hope for the rest of the summer. It would be nice if we just got it over with. 110, we just showed you one of the highest heat indices we have ever had, and that, of course, is the peak for the year. Yesterday, we officially hit 100 degrees, so exceeded expectations. Clouds held off, perfect setup, and 77 for a dew point is substantial. The highest we had before that was 73. This is also the peak that we had last year around July, so wow. June 25th really goes down for the hottest day in all 3 categories, the triple crown, if you may. We have some upper level clouds for the time being, so everywhere you look across the beautiful place that we live, we are looking at a pretty decent looking day at least. Yes, we do have the last day of our heat advisory. This is actually a new one, only 2 to 8 o'clock. The previous one went fully one day into the next through the morning and then all the way up to 8 o'clock. And I think this will be the last one for the week. It's really from the I-77 corridor and areas further off towards the east, where temperatures right now feel as they should. So that's the good news. But I think we'll start popping into the triple digits by about 2 to 4 o'clock. That's where I think we hit our peak. Many of us just shy of 105, but it is still a chance, and that's why we have that heat advisory. I want to show you where we've been, though. This is crazy. 98, 98, 100. So the upper 90s to 100 degrees. Today, at least, is a down step into the mid-80s, where even though we're still feeling like the triple digits, we realistically could do that tomorrow as well. And yesterday officially was the 140th, so a nice round number, 100-degree day we have in Charlotte history. That's dating back to 1878, and also the 30th time we've done it in June. And our high temperatures are going to settle out in this nice range. I like this. We have the lower 90s, and then eventually we will have another big chance for rain that's going to bring this down before we challenge the mid-90s again. This is what we typically have in July. This is the bottom. We're like, ooh, 89. And then you hover in the mid-90s and it comes back. It's rarely that we swing upward, but the way things have already been so far this season, I definitely see it happening again, maybe even at the end of this 10-day forecast. But the next best chance for rain, really, we have a string of 3 days, especially today and tomorrow, that you have a chance for a pop-up shower or a thunderstorm. Those chances wind down before we have another front that arrives that's kicking down those rain chances beyond that. So really, I think our best chances for rain are probably today and tomorrow, but it looks like Tuesday could beat all of those as we have a better setup with a front. For the time being, we're still dancing around the ring of fire. That's that high pressure system that continues to circulate storms through the area. So coming up, I'm going to have that detailed forecast, talking a little bit about our rain chances now and heading into the weekend. But first, let's head over to Majestic. What's going on?
Morning, everyone. Well, we want to talk about what's going on. We have some breaking news. A water leak. Look at your TV screen right now. This is a live view of what's going on. We do have a crews there on scene. It's at Circle Ave and South Chase Street. That's between Randolph Road and Providence. So you can see water is coming up and it's actually starting to flood just a bit. Not blocking any traffic though, and really crews have struggled to get there because it's a little delayed from the storms last night, but they are there on scene and it looks to be quite messy. Again, where this specifically it's at Circle Ave and South Chase Street. That's between Randolph Road and Providence. So again, this is a live look of what's going on as we switch it over to my live traffic maps. This is exactly where it is. So you can see where Circle is, right between Providence and out towards Randolph Road. But they did say it's not making any real traffic impacts there. Just avoid that area specifically as they are continuing to get that fixed. We'll keep on monitoring that for you throughout the rest of the show, though. Taking a look at our traffic commute, though, this morning, if you're heading out the door, heading off to work, maybe you're just running some errands this morning. Here's I-85 here. We do have a little bit of a backup, but we typically do for this time of the day. You can see a live video of what's going on there. Traffic seems to be flowing all right. Not saying that stop and go traffic. So again, making some good improvements there. One thing that we're also watching is this right here. This has been ongoing for a while. It's an accident at Queens Road North at South Caswell Road. Again, starting to see more backups there, that yellow and that orange indicating that. And then this one, as we head just to the south out towards Lake Wiley, that one just got cleared. And again, seeing those slowdowns on I-77. If we can pull up that live look again, just to share with people if they're just tuning in what's going on. Again, that water leak, it's on Circle Ave and South Chase Street. We have crews on scene. This is what's going on. It's off of Randolph Road and Providence. The good news is with this, it's not blocking any traffic, just suggesting not to travel there. Again, Circle Ave and South Chase Street. We'll have more on this coming up straight ahead.
All right, we are going to take a quick break right now, but make sure you keep it right here on WCNC Plus. We're going to have another update on your weather and traffic in about 2 minutes, and then we'll be back with more of the day's top headlines at the top of the hour.
Well, good morning, everybody. 96 degrees, still well above the normal of 89. And then we're seeing a few more clouds by the end of the day, and that could also lead to some thunderstorms. So today's high 96, still on the upper threshold. This is the last day that we have a heat advisory. Between 2 to 8 look to be the hottest thing, specifically 2 to 5. And then heading into the weekend, 92 tomorrow and lower 90s through the weekend. That's what I'm talking about. That's better off where we should be. Now, for our future cast, you can see that we're picking up some storms as early as about 2 to 3 o'clock. I think it's better chance really after about 4, heading into the evening hours until about 10. You're seeing the most scattered activity. Certainly you can see it well before that. Our 7-day forecast trending in a downward direction, and we like that. 96 degrees, still could feel like 105 plus, but at least a little bit close to where we should be this time of year to start the weekend. Let's head over to Majestic, who's had an active start to the day.
All right, good morning, everyone. We are following this. Our WCNC crews are on scene right now because we are looking at a water leak. Take a look at your TV screen. It is at Circle Ave and South Chase Street. That's right between Randolph Road and Providence. The good news is that it's not bringing any major impacts to those area roadways. You'll just want to avoid this location. Again, Circle Ave and South Chase Street. You can see in my maps right there, this is what we're seeing as we're looking at this water leak. No significant slowdowns. We'll have more on WCNC Plus coming up straight ahead. See you there.
You are streaming live on WCNC Plus at 8 o'clock. I'm Lisa Washington. This morning, work is on pause at the Silfab solar plant in York County. Investigators found multiple workers on site without proper permits. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane is live in Fort Mill this morning. And Richard, this is just the latest thing in a project that's already been facing some pushback from neighbors.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct, Lisa. Good morning to you. Good Thursday morning to all our plussers out there. Just want to show you this gate has been open just in the last little bit, like last 15 minutes, and there's a truck there. We've not seen a lot of activity inside the plant. We've been told earlier this morning that they just basically have a couple of people who are in there overnight, making sure that there's no fires for fire safety and making sure the building is secure. That was from a guard that was outside the plant. Now, during the morning, we did speak with someone who said that the reason the gate is open now is that they're trying to actually work on some of the issues here at the plant that caused it to have that work stop. Now, all this, as you can well imagine, the people who are residents in this community concerned, upset about the fact that this situation has existed with this particular building, the Silfab construction project. The pause is coming amid this ongoing backlash from nearby residents who've expressed concerns about what they call air pollution problems and potential chemical hazards that are all tied to the solar panel production. The neighbors say they also are concerned about the use of saline gas, which could pose risk to nearby schools that are under construction and residential areas. Now, Silfab, for its part, maintains it meets all safety and environmental standards, but that's not stopping community members from being concerned. Those concerns have escalated, with some families reportedly relocating due to fears over the plant's proximity.
That first feeling, I started crying. We were like, all right, we got to find a home, and it has to be far enough away from Silfab that we won't be rezoned there.
We understand you were voting on a tax incentive. We are here tonight to voice our concerns about the location and the improper zoning based on undeniable facts. 1 million cubic feet of toxic gas stored outside is not compatible just a few feet away from school grounds.
Yeah, just some of the complaints we've heard from residents over the months that we've covered this story here in person at their houses or even at those meetings. Of course, this is a story that's going to continue. For its part, Silfab says that it is doing what it can with York County to get this problem fixed. As you heard me tell you just a little bit ago, they say a worker told me that they're actually trying to fix the problems that the fire marshal and the inspector had about this plant. Lisa, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Richard, thanks so much. I do have one question for you. We heard people there have some really strong opinions about Silfab there. Do you know how many families may have actually moved from the area?
Yeah, last check. Now, we heard from one of the town leaders just a couple of months ago, said that he had heard of 3 families that he knew of who have moved. We don't know any additional families who've moved or families who are planning to move to this area who have not moved to this area. But the number that we've been given so far is 3, but it could be higher of families who are planning to move or families who decided not to come here until this whole controversy is finally settled. Of course, this is something we'll keep you updated on as time goes on, and we'll give you updates whenever they're available. We're right here in Fort Mill. Lisa, we'll send it back to you.
All right, Richard, thanks so much for that report. All right, let's find out more about our forecast because this is another weather impact alert day. Chris has details. We're not going to be feeling 110 today.
And you're not going to have as mean as storms. There's still a chance for mean storms. I just think they're less numerous. And we really had an intense profile because we had something to drive up 100-degree temperatures that at one point actually reached 110 degrees for a heat index. Drop the fact that is actually 109.6, just rounded up for this graphic, that is actually the 8th hottest peak for a heat index in any given year. So wow, and that dates back to 1941. And it was the muggiest day yesterday. So yeah, you felt it. These are the dew points yesterday around 9. So the higher this is, the more miserable it feels. We were in the miserable range. That's that pink represents. Oppressive just means that, oh, you can notice it's around you and really affects the hair. And we'll even get back to uncomfortable conditions, which by the way, is where we're rocking right now. The upper 60s is actually great. That's just superhuman instead of whatever yesterday was, tropical air. So at least we are trending in a better direction. It's still muggy, but it's so funny to put it in perspective. When you hit the top and you even come down a little bit to a range that was uncomfortable before, maybe you're a little desensitized to it. I'm just thinking optimistically here, because after this, it's pretty much what we had yesterday for that moisture content. We're going to have a better chance of spikes into the mid 70s, which is that air you can really feel. But welcome to summer, y'all. I think maybe we'll just be a little bit more tolerant and used to it now. Here's your headlines, getting out the popsicle sticks. We have today as the last heat advisory. This goes from 2 to 8 o'clock. Our storm chances are a low severe threat, but they're still out there. And then tomorrow, we're closer to normal. So more storm chances will also continue, but this is that usual summertime pattern that you're popping up storms all over the place. And some days are going to be more than others. It's either a trough that's nearby, a front that moves through. Usually when a front rolls through and you have this type of heat, it's going to create thunderstorms. So that's why we already have a likely chance for storms on Tuesday as that moves through. Could shift a little bit in the timing. But today, tomorrow, and Saturday, all share the commonality that at the end of the day, specifically heading in the evening, you could have some storms, but some could fire up as early as 2 o'clock. For the time being, we'll see this dome, this heat dome, push its way off towards the west. Sometimes the outskirts can create some troughs and also create some areas of instability. That's kind of what we're going to see over the next couple of days. Then it slowly starts to fade. But our storm chances are all over the place. They're just twisting, they're bending, they're twisting, they're bending through the area. I think most of the day is going to be clear, even though we're going to be increasing the clouds. And then you have a better chance for us to start to erode some of that cloud cover and then dry out for the evening as well. So looking forward for our 7-day forecast, if it would go to it for me, there we go. We are looking at a red bar for today. This is the only weather alert day just because of that heat advisory, still that storm chance. Each and every day has the typical summertime storm chances. No, we're not going weather alert for any of those. It's kind of just the usual. There always could be some stronger storms and some that bring some isolated hail like yesterday. Same thing for today. But we have the lower 90s. It's a nice adjustment. 89 is where we should be. 91, 92 is close enough, especially where we just were at double 98s and 100 degrees. And our average lows should be close to about 70 degrees. We get to that range as well. So just the usual hot going forward. So that's some good news. What's not good news is whatever Majestic's about to show you.
All right, well, let's get to it because we are following this water leak here. You can see a live look of what's going on. Our WCNC crew is there. There's a water leak right there. You can see the water that's coming up and it's starting to flood parts of this road right here. So it is causing a mess, not just in the roads, but even yards and that street, the sidewalk there. Even as they zoom out, you can see how widespread those impacts are. Now notice this is in a residential neighborhood. So if this is your neighborhood, this is what's going on right now. But the good news with this is that it's not impacting a major interstate or a major road, so there are easy ways to get right around this. Again, our WCNC crews are on scene of that water leak. Let's break that down just a little bit more. I want to put it into perspective, taking a look at our map. It's south of Charlotte. This is where the water leak is. It's at Circle Ave in South Chase Street. You can see it highlighted right here. It's between Randolph Road and Providence Road, all right? And again, mainly in that residential neighborhood. The alternate route, though, if you typically take that shortcut, you're going to just want to take Crescent Ave right now. That is just flowing nice and smoothly. Should be able to get you right around the water leak. Another ongoing accident that we've been following is on Queens Road North at South Caswell Road. We've been seeing some slowdowns there, nothing too significant. We actually have an airport crash. It's at the airport loop right there, and you can see some yellow popping up. I don't think it's anything significant, but you know how it is at the airport. Everything is already kind of jam-packed. Off to the east, we are watching this. The right lane is right now blocked due to a crash on Albemarle Road, westbound at Dooley Drive. So seeing those impacts there, just take it easy as you're heading out the door. And then finally, I do want to highlight this one. Another crash on the Brookshire Boulevard at Mount Holly Hunterville's Road. Not seeing any significant impacts, but again, that water leak is really what we're watching for. Again, we'll have another update on that coming up in just a few minutes. Lisa.
Majestic thanks. 8:09 now. It's been more than 25 years since 9-year-old Aisha Degree disappeared from her Cleveland County home. This morning, North Carolina's Governor Josh Stein is adding a $25,000 reward for more information in the case. Despite multiple developments, Aisha has not been found and no arrests have ever been made. Governor Stein's offer comes on top of a $75,000 reward, meaning anyone with information in this case could receive up to $100,000. If you know anything, you should call the Cleveland County Sheriff's Office or the FBI. Live pictures over the White House this morning where President Trump is back after attending the NATO summit. As NBC's Alice Barr reports, the president now turns his attention to two very important meetings.
President Trump back in Washington after the NATO summit, looking to extend a diplomatic win with the Israel-Iran ceasefire into talks with Iran.
We're going to talk to them next week with Iran. We may sign an agreement. I don't know.
The president downplaying the necessity of signing a deal, insisting U.S. airstrikes on Iranian nuclear sites already accomplish the goal of preventing Iran from developing a nuclear weapon.
I said, Iran will not have nuclear. Well, we blew it up. It's blown up to kingdom come.
He's pushing back forcefully on a preliminary assessment by the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency estimating Iran's nuclear program was delayed by a matter of months.
They presented a report that wasn't finished.
Yes.
They didn't see it. All they can do is take a guess.
Defense Secretary Hegseth said the agency had low confidence in its initial assessment. President Trump citing Israeli intelligence that the strikes set Iran's nuclear capabilities back by many years and rendered the critical underground Fordo site inoperable. Iran also acknowledging its nuclear installations were badly damaged. And the CIA director now says credible intelligence indicates Iran's nuclear program was severely damaged and would take years to rebuild. Two sources say he is among the top Trump officials set to brief senators today who have been pressing for answers.
Do we know whether the uranium was there? Do we know whether the centrifuges were there? What is the state of those facilities?
House members due to be briefed tomorrow. The two sources who spoke to NBC News and a senior administration official say Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard will not be part of the congressional briefings. NBC News has previously reported Gabbard has been increasingly marginalized after testifying in March that Iran had not made a decision to build a nuclear weapon. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
All right, let's talk a little basketball now. This morning, dreams are a reality as the NBA's newest class celebrates their success. Last night, the Dallas Mavericks selected Duke star Cooper Flagg with the #1 pick in the NBA draft. The 18-year-old is now officially the youngest player to be drafted #1 since LeBron James. Reporter Logan Campbell was in Brooklyn last night, and she spoke one-on-one with him after the top pick.
We are with the #1 pick in the NBA draft, Cooper Flagg. Cooper, you are a Dallas Maverick. Has it hit you yet that this is becoming a reality, and what are you looking forward to the most when you get down to Dallas?
Yeah, I think it's starting to hit me a little bit, but not fully. It was such a blur out there once I heard my name called, and everything from there has been kind of a blur. But I think for me, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to learn. Being surrounded by, AD, Kyrie, Clay, those guys that are established and Hall of Fame caliber guys. I think it'll be a great opportunity for me to just learn a lot.
No doubt about it. Cooper, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. We'll for sure miss watching you at Duke.
Thank you.
Good luck in Dallas.
Now, after Flagg's name was called, Hornets fans anxiously waited to see who the team would choose for the 4th pick. Charlotte chose another Duke standout, Con Knippel. He's a shooting guard who most experts say is exactly what Charlotte needs. The fans are pretty happy with the pick. Check out this reaction when his name was called.
With the 4th pick in the 2025 NBA Draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Con Knippel.
Oh man, listen, it was something that the Hornets needed. I'm excited they got that pick. I can't wait to see what these guys are going to do in the future. I'm telling you, it's going to be a new season. I'm looking forward to these Hornets really doing their thing. Man, like they said, they were looking for somebody who was a scorer. They're looking for an athlete. I think LaMelo Ball is going to have a good time grooming this young man to be the best he can be. So Hornets, Charlotte, we ready for it.
Great to see the excited Hornets fans there. As you saw, that reaction very positive. Now, Knipple won the ACC championship at Spectrum Center with Duke back in March. WCNC Charlotte's Logan Campbell caught up with him right after he was drafted last night in Brooklyn.
All right, guys, we are here with the newest Charlotte Hornet and the 4th overall pick in the NBA, Con Knipple. Con, has it hit you yet? You are staying in North Carolina and you're going to be in Charlotte.
I'm super excited. I love North Carolina this year, obviously. Had a lot of fun, and I'll just be down the road.
Take us through that moment when you heard your name called. What were you feeling?
Just a lot of gratitude. What an extreme blessing from God. Sharing it with your family is also just a really, really special feeling.
Yeah, why did you bring all of your brothers up on stage with you? What was the importance of that?
That's something ESPN wanted to do, but also I think it just showed what family means to me. And it's always fun to go up there and do something fun with those guys.
Talk about family. Duke has a brotherhood. You had Cooper Flag go first. Kaman got taken 10th. To have 3 of you go in the top 10 in the NBA draft, how special is that?
Oh, it's so special. I mean, I think it's big time. It shows where Coach Shire's program's at. Hopefully, I know for a fact that the brotherhood will keep it going.
What was it about Charlotte during this draft process that you thought, okay, I could see myself playing there?
Yeah, I mean, having the interviews at the Combine and then in my visit there with the team, getting to know Jeff Peterson and Coach Lee a little bit, it was really special. They're really, really good people, and I felt that right away from that first interview at the Combine. And so I'm super glad they pulled the trigger, and I can't wait to be a Hornet.
It doesn't hurt that you're used to winning inside the Spectrum Center. What can Charlotte fans expect to see from you this season?
Yeah, well, they're going to see, I love that in the draft they showed me diving on the floor for my clip. So they'll see some more of that and hopefully some threes going down.
All right, Con, congratulations. We look forward to watching you in Charlotte.
Thank you very much.
All right.
And you can catch exclusive coverage just like that right here on WCNC Plus. We also know that the Hornets did make a trade last night. They traded center Mark Williams to Phoenix in exchange for the 29th pick, and they chose Liam McNeely out of UConn. The Hornets will introduce their draft pick on Friday. All right, let's check in with Chris now for the latest on our hot forecast for this Thursday.
Okay, let's do it one more time. We have a heat advisory. Now, half the area has been cut off from this, so York County and Gaston County are right on the cusp, just outside of the dangerous heat threshold. Anyone here in the orange has a chance of feeling like a 105 to 107 for the max, but realistically could be a little bit closer to that 101 to 103 range, just depending. It is not as humid as yesterday. Still buggy, but not as oppressively humid. You have temperatures reaching the 90-degree point by about noon and then leveling out in the mid-90s to end the afternoon. Our high temperatures today, I think, range about 94 to 97 for us. Some areas I think are going to cool down earlier that see a pop-up shower or thunderstorm, but like yesterday, if you get sunshine most of the day and those clouds really don't inhibit too much, certain areas will be hotter than others, close to that 97 point, and others will be in that 94, and that's even across the greater Charlotte area. Already, sometimes you can see things like there were signs. Already with the chance of a cumulus cloud like this shows that we have some lift to the atmosphere. So this is sign number one that I think you're going to see more clouds like this start to fire up as we work our way through the afternoon, because we got it. I don't think it's as busy as yesterday, but like yesterday, I think this is going to be the general momentum. I think they're going to start right here around the foothills and the mountains. 2 o'clock is usually the magic hour during summertime. Same thing goes for today, and these storms are going to feed off of one another. So notice not much movement. So this one's actually popping up, and then it starts to exhaust itself. It puts the energy somewhere else, and then a new storm starts to pop up. Usually they last up 30 to 45 minutes if they're a little smaller cell, longer if they glom together like what you're seeing here. But I'm going to clear out of the way. Focus on where you live. This is 5 o'clock. You can see the storms kind of almost passing the rain back and forth, and that's pretty much what they do. And then the coverage starts to decrease as we work our way into maybe the final convergence here between about 9 and 11. Then it should be out of here by about midnight. But just letting you know, that's kind of how things go. It's tough to read and really say, hey, you're going to have a storm at this point. Now, Even Mecklenburg County was a big division. Actually, some areas of Huntersville did not see rain, not a drop. Meanwhile, others picked up close to an inch of rain as it was just sitting in one spot in parts of York County. So you can see that pattern going forward is still going to be decently active. And then the next best chance for rain really looks to be on actually this coming Tuesday. Now our high temperatures trending down, the lower 90s Friday through Tuesday. A quick visit to the 80s at 89 and then back to the mid 90s. Nice trend on the way down. I think we deserve a break. Majestic, what do you think? Speaking of, what do you
Yes, we do need a break, that's for sure, with those temperatures. I think a lot of people will be looking forward to that. Do want to show you what's going on, though, with this breaking news. Our WCNC team is on scene because there is a water leak that's causing a mess across roads. You can see it right here, not just the roads, but in yards, sidewalks, really all across the street. You can see crews are there to fix the water leak, but basically water is just flowing all across this residential neighborhood. Let's show you exactly where this is on my map. So let's change it on over and we'll zoom in to exactly what I'm looking at here. Once we zoom it in, you can see this is on Circle Ave right there and Chase Street. That's where the water leak is. And just to put it into perspective a little bit more, that's between Randolph Road and Providence. Now, it's a residential neighborhood, so it's not impacting really much travel, but if you live there, then it will probably impact you. So this morning, I need you to just take Crescent Ave if you're trying to get onto Randolph or Providence. That's what we're following for that breaking news right now. In addition to that, Independence, if you are traveling, it's going to slow you down even more than it already typically does because of an accident. Backups are about a 10-minute delay. It's on Independence and Briar Creek up to Albemarle Road. That's where that backup is. But notice all of that red there. So coming inbound on Independence, allow for some extra drive time to get to where you need to be because of that ongoing crash. In addition to that, we do have some minor accidents. The last one I want to talk about is at the airport there, so there could be some stop and go congestion right around the loop at times because of that.
All right, Majestic, thanks so much for that live report. Of course, we'll continue to monitor that situation there in southeast Charlotte regarding that water leak. We saw the Charlotte water crews there just a few moments ago. Temperatures this week are really above average, approaching the 100-degree mark. In fact, we hit 100 yesterday. This extremely hot weather begs the question, is it possible to find somewhere in the Queen City where you could trade in the sunblock for a jacket? WCNC Charlotte's Larry Sprinkle takes us to one spot where the temperatures are uncomfortably cold.
It's here, the baking sun, rising temperatures, air conditioners maxed out. Uncomfortable for everyone. If you're looking for really cold, you'll find it right here in the ice house with the temperatures about 17 degrees at Zippy Ice.
We probably saw a 40% increase over the weekend of extra ice needs from restaurants to convenience stores. People are out and about. If you're at work and you have to be outside, you're grabbing a couple bags of ice when normally maybe you only grab one.
Howard Mackey is the co-owner of Zippy Ice along with his wife Christine. Around since 2007, the company provides ice for convenience stores, grocery stores, restaurants, and events.
And we make roughly 250 tons of ice per day. Come a long way from the first days of when we made 2 tons a day.
When it comes to the actual ice-making process, it's quite fascinating. It's all about the heat.
We take good old Charlotte water, we filter it, we then run it through our Vote ice machines, and we don't freeze the water. It's very interesting. You actually pull all the heat out of it, which then causes it to freeze. So when people say that I'm freezing water, that's not what we're doing. We're actually removing all the heat, and then what you're left with is an ice cube. Once that cube is formed, it then goes through a process where it's stored in bulk before packaging. And then once we're ready to do packaging, it'll flow through the various conveyors, come through a packaging line where a bag is formed from a simple plastic film sheet that has our label on it and logos. At that point, it volumetrically measures that ice, puts it in the bag, it seals the bag, drops it out the front, where a robot then picks it up and puts it on the pallet.
There's more than a snowball's chance. This is the coldest spot around. At Jiffy Ice, I'm Larry Sprinkle, WCNC Charlotte.
Interesting that they just pull the heat from it. They don't freeze it. All right, well, moving on. Congratulations this morning for Al Roker. Today, co-host and weatherman was awarded the prestigious Lifetime Achievement Award at the annual News and Documentary Emmy Awards in New York City. Roker has spent nearly half a century with NBC and almost 30 years with Today. His career in journalism has taken him all over the world as he's reported from major weather disasters. So congratulations to Al Roker. Of course, Larry Sprinkle joins us now, the one person we know you've met Al several times.
Yeah, I've known Al probably 35 years or so.
Wow.
Just a really a good guy.
Yes.
And has done so much in so many communities. And if anybody deserves that award, it's Al Roker. I mean, he's a class act all the way, and just such a great part of people's lives.
For sure,
we all have been influenced by Al Roker.
He is an American treasure for sure. Congratulations.
Everybody knows him and loves him, that's for sure.
My favorite thing is just the Larry Al Roker interactions.
I know.
It's been transitions of beach balls to baseballs, and then
teaching him to shag.
Yeah, I was gonna say dancing a bit.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
Just never know.
Congratulations, Al Roker.
All right. Thank you, Larry Sprinkle. All right. Well, right now we are going to take a quick break, but you keep it right here on WCNC Plus. We're going to have another update on weather and traffic, including that situation there with the water leak. Majestic will give us the latest on that, and Chris will have a check on your traffic, and then we'll be back with the day's top headlines at 8:30.
One more heat advisory. We got it from Mecklenburg, Iredell, right along the I-77 corridor and right off towards the east. This is the final batch of those near extreme temperatures. It's really about the heat index today. Still feeling like 100 to 105, and some areas even as much as 107 by the end of the day. We also have a chance for scattered storms. We can see that mainly through the evening, so keep that in mind. And our 7-day forecast, really want to focus in on what's happening after this. So we have those chance for showers and thunderstorms this evening. We'll take a break, but 96 is going to be the hottest that we have going forward. We have a heat advisory, and that's the last day of our weather alert, but still be alert for storms today, really especially late day heading into the evening. And then again on Friday and Saturday, looks like we're gonna have more scattered storms as well. Then we have, I think, the best chance for rain on the week. That's on Friday and Tuesday. And that's actually going to lead to our big cool down, if you want to call it that. 89 degrees where we should be this time of year. Let's head over to Majestic, who has a lot going on for your morning commute.
All right, good Thursday morning, everyone. We are following a water leak. Oh, yes, we are watching that. We do have WCNC crews there on scene, but where you want to know and be aware of that, it's right here. I'm going to zoom it on in. It's on Circle Ave and South Chase Street. It's between Randolph Road and Providence Lane. I've seen camera footage of what's going on. It's a whole lot of water that's just spreading. It's in a residential neighborhood, though, so it's not bringing major impacts to those area roadways. But if you live in the neighborhood, yes, there is a water leak. You're going to want to take Crescent Ave instead.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Thanks for joining us live on WCNC Plus at 8:30. I'm Lisa Washington. As we brace for more hot temperatures this summer, it may surprise you to learn that not every part of Charlotte feels heat the same way. Some areas can actually feel several degrees hotter, even if they're only a few blocks apart. WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards is live this morning. And Destiny, this is something that Charlotte is trying to address.
That's right. This is something that actually gets tracked and measured, and this is the reason why parts of Charlotte are hotter than others. It's called urban heat island effect, when the pavement and the construction and the buildings in our city basically collect and absorb heat throughout the day, release it at night, and this is why cities in general are a lot hotter than rural areas. Now, according to Charlotte heat mappers, areas like Uptown, South End, and Noda are heat hotspots due to less vegetation and ongoing development. Experts say tree cover is a powerful defense, and that's what you'll find on our greenways, in parks, and in suburban neighborhoods. They don't just provide shade, they also cool the air by releasing water vapor through their leaves, a process called transpiration. But not all neighborhoods have equal access to this relief. That's why local groups like Trees Charlotte are working to plant more trees, especially in neighborhoods that need them the most.
When you see a more affluent neighborhood, usually the tree canopy is more robust, and they have the benefit of having those bigger, older trees because they were planted there historically a long time ago. So with Tree Charlotte, what we are trying to do to combat that is to focus on planting in the most underserved and under-canopied neighborhoods in Charlotte. Our mission is to first focus on those areas to try to build back those canopies.
And Tree Charlotte does a lot of outreach. They have tree planting events. They have tree giveaways so you can get your own to plant in your neighborhood. And they also do, again, their own efforts to plant in those underserved communities, but they can only plant on private land. They do need permission. They ask for you to reach out to them if you have a neighborhood, a school area, nonprofit space that you think needs more of that tree canopy. You can reach out to them. We have more information on how to do that in this story on the WCNC Charlotte News app. Lisa.
And Destiny, the last time that we spoke with you, you explained this heat inequality. So explain to us now how the leaders are using the heat mapping data to address that heat inequality.
Yeah, so when talking about the areas of Charlotte that have more tree canopy versus less. Right now we're standing in Freedom Park. This is in South Charlotte. This park, a lot of parks in the Charlotte area have those large oak trees, and then neighborhoods surrounding it, like in Myers Park. Madison Park is another neighborhood in South Charlotte that has a lot of trees. But a lot of areas of Charlotte that may have been historically redlined, areas that have racial and socioeconomic inequities there, those communities have more heat exposure. There's a lot of development going on there. There's just less trees, and the canopy has eroded away. So Charlotte heat mappers, the work that they've done to measure the heat in our city, it's being used by the city, nonprofits, things like that. Agencies in Charlotte and Mecklenburg County, they're using that data to make this a more sustainable city where people can get some relief from this heat. And I really encourage you to see the work that they did. They measured this heat, Charlotte heat mappers did on one day in July last year, and their findings are really interesting about how urban heat islands work. So again, all of that is in this story on the WCNC Charlotte News app.
All right, Destiny, thanks so much for that live report. Let's check in with Chris now. And Destiny makes a very valid point, because one of the things that we tell people, try to stay cool, find some shade, right? If you have to be outside, find some shade. And if there aren't a lot of trees, that's really hard to do.
Yeah, because in the shade, you feel either the temperature or even -5 from that. So that's much better than feeling up to 20 degrees plus outside of that without the shade. Now, the quick little build on what Destiny was talking about. First off, way to raise your weather IQ, dropping transpiration, Destiny. You get 1 weather point. That's awesome. This actually creates a heat dome. So Destiny was talking about that urban heat island because the buildings and the roads absorb all that sunlight. And what the biggest lasting effect is at night, because that dome remains. So that's going to allow it to be much warmer. It just kind of retains its heat. And I want to bring this to the larger scale, because guess what? We actually had a very similar setup. There was a heat dome set up right here over the United States. And once that really started to break down, don't know why the map is gray. Hopefully it'll come back on me. Oh, there it is. That big red area really just disappeared. That upper level pattern has broken. So you don't have that big heat bubble that was firing up the temperatures into the upper 90s to around 100 degrees. We're still going to be at 96 today. That's the high I have around the area, but it's not 100 and it's not 98. So that's the only good news that I have for you. So at least today's kind of the turning point. So you don't really have a vast drop off, but we actually level out in the lower 90s. That's still above the normal of 89. But we're trending in a better direction. Now let's talk about our last heat advisory for the near term. We'll probably have a bunch more of these throughout the season. I hope not a bunch, but the way it usually goes. 2 to 8 p.m. That is a much smaller window, so only a 6 hour. That's the minimum that a heat advisory will be. And then our dew point actually is not driving up things like it was yesterday. Our temperature is actually matching our feels like temperature, so no heat index yet, but we are seeing signs that thunderstorms are starting to form, especially a little bit later on. So beyond the 90s, we will have a chance for a dip down into that 89 degree point before we get back to about the mid 90s going forward. So our trend is heading in a good direction. Today is the last weather alert day in the near term. Chance for storms on and off through the evening, and we're going to keep the storm chances around, especially for Friday and Saturday. Coming up, I'm going to talk a little bit more about that, and we'll also take a jump looking into next week, talking about the next best rain chances I think that we have here on this 7-day forecast. But first, I have to check in with Majestic, who has an interesting start.
Yeah, I want to take you out to Southeast Charlotte. Our WCNC crews are on scene. Take a look at your TV screen. There is a water leak right there, and crews have arrived to fix it. I've been watching this, and you've been seeing a lot of water just spew, and it's spreading all across this street onto yards, sidewalks. Noticing, though, that this is really a residential neighborhood, so it's not impacting a lot of people. But as you can see, that car there, thankfully, is turning around and going a different way. So if you're waking up this morning, this is at Circle Ave and South Chase Street. That's the specific location for the water leak. But let's go ahead and change it on over, because I want to show you some perspective when we're looking at my maps as to where it is. So again, following this water leak right now, crews are on scene where the actual water leak is. Again, Circle Ave and South Chase Street. It's a neighborhood, so yes, you will be impacted by it if you live in this area, but it's really between Randolph Road and Providence. I highlighted where we're actually seeing the impacts of the water leak. Now, don't take that street today. Instead, you're going to want to take Crescent Ave instead. That'll take you from Randolph straight over towards Providence. So we'll continue to keep you up to date there. But good news to see those crews there on scene to be able to fix the water leak. Right now, we're following this crash is on Nations Ford Road at Tyvola Road. It's just west of I-77 there. Not seeing any significant backups, but we definitely could within the next several minutes. Another crash right here on Forest Pine Drive at Arrowwood Road. Seeing a little bit of those impacts, but really just seeing a slowdown significant there on I-77 inbound. Want to take you over to, again, just showing you perspective with Independence. Look at all this red. This is actually going to be quite a headache if you typically take Independence inbound, because there has been a crash. It's on Independence and Briar Creek. It's backed up to at least Albemarle Road. Expecting anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes for our delay. Some reports even indicating that at times it may even slow people down by 30 minutes. So coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to learn more about what's going on here on Independence, because this is a very well-traveled location, and I'll give you a best alternate route if you do have to take Independence inbound.
All right, Majestic, thanks so much. Right now, we want to go live to the Pentagon, where a briefing is happening right now with the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, also with the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Air Force General Dan King. Let's listen in.
His staff, the intelligence community, our staff, and others are doing all the assessments necessary to make sure that mission was indeed successful. Yes, right there.
So, thank you, Mr. Secretary. Iran has recognized that their nuclear program was indeed severely damaged, but they also said that the U.S. strikes only strengthened their ability and their determination to complete their nuclear program. How do you respond to that, sir? Is that a provocation from Iran?
Well, I would say Iran's going to have to say a lot of things right now in order to bolster their image, especially internally. You know, in the media, there's a lot of things they'll say for domestic consumption. But we're watching very closely what they do. Again, that's the intel community. Our job as the chairman, I mean, the chairman laid it out so beautifully. Our job is to be prepared. And how proud are you? How proud am I? I didn't know the full story of those men and women 15 years ago who've been pointing at that target. That makes me proud to be an American. That's an awesome story. I hope we can tell more aspects of that in an unclassified way in the future. That's a great thing to know. Our job is to be prepared when the commander-in-chief calls based on those assessments. So, of course, our IC, the Intelligence Committee, will keep watching what Iran does and pay attention to that. But the president has created the contours, the opportunity for a deal, for peace, in something that the world said was intractable, that wasn't possible. And we got that peace, that ceasefire, that option, because of strength, because of his willingness to use American military might that no one else on the planet can do with the kind of planners and operators that the chairman just laid out. Yes, sir. Right there. Yep.
Me, sir? Just a quick question. There's public imagery available saying that highly enriched uranium was moved out of Fordo before the strikes. Is that accurate? Have you seen that? And Mr. Chairman, a question for you. Have you been pressured to change your assessment or give a more rosy intelligence assessment to us by any political factors, whether it's the president or the secretary? And if you were, would you do that?
Yeah, well, that one's easy. No. No, I have not, and no, I would not. My job as the chairman is to offer a range of options to the president and the National Command Authority to deliver the risks associated with each of those, and then take the orders of the National Command Authority and go execute them. I've never been pressured by the president or the secretary to do anything other than tell them exactly what I'm thinking, and that's exactly what I've done.
And the highly enriched uranium?
There's nothing that I've seen that suggests that we didn't hit exactly what we wanted to hit in those locations.
That's not the question, though. It's about highly enriched uranium. Do you have certainty that all the highly enriched uranium was inside the Fordo mountain, or some of it, because there were satellite photos that showed more than a dozen trucks there 2 days in advance? Are you certain none of that highly enriched uranium was moved?
Of course, we're watching every single aspect, but Jennifer, you've been about the worst, the one who misrepresents the most intentionally. What the president says. I'm familiar.
I was about the ventilation shafts on Saturday night, and in fact, I was the first to describe the B-2 bombers, the refueling, the entire mission with great accuracy. So I take issue with that.
I appreciate you acknowledging that this was the first the most successful mission based on operational security that this department has done since you've been here, and I appreciate that. So we're looking at all aspects of intelligence and making sure we have a sense of what was where.
So why not acknowledge the female pilots that also participated in this mission? The early messages that you sent out only congratulated the boys.
So when I say something like our boys and bombers, see, this is the kind of thing the press does, right? Of course, the chairman mentioned a female bomber pilot. That's fantastic. She's fantastic. She's a hero. I want more female bomber pilots. I hope the men and women of our country sign up to do such brave and audacious things. But when you spin it as, because I say our boys and bombers as a common phrase, I'll keep saying things like that, whether they're men or women. Very proud of that female pilot, just like I'm very proud of those male pilots, and I don't care if it's a male or a female in that cockpit. American people don't care. But it's the obsession with race and gender in this department that's changed priorities. And we don't do that anymore. We don't play your little games. Yes, right there.
You know for certain that the uranium was removed from the facility before the B-2 struck?
So I'm not aware of any intelligence that I've reviewed that says things were not where they were supposed to be, moved or otherwise. Yes.
Kelly Meyer with News Nation, and just off the top, want to say we're grateful for the service of these pilots and everybody that serves. I wanted to ask you, the CIA statement said, when possible, they will provide updates and information to the public for transparency, and I believe that's what we're looking for here. Do you commit to share the Defense Intelligence Agency report when it is ready, so the American people can understand more about the intelligence assessment?
Well, actually, the report that was discussed, this preliminary report, was what's called a restrike report. So it comes to us to give us an assessment whether a target would need to be restruck, right? That's the reason why. So it's based on internal feedback loop that we're supposed to have access to. Unfortunately, someone took advantage of that. But whatever is supposed to be made public will be, but whatever has to stay sensitive.
Sir, can I just jump in? You know, one of the things that I'm trying to do through this journey that we're on together, of course, transparency, but also the requirement to really protect these capabilities. I guess the time's up. So there's a balance in there, right? We do need to preserve options should the nation and the joint force be tasked to go do something again. So I'm confident we'll find the middle ground, but there are some things that if asked, I'd want to not release related to.
So we're going to leave it right there. I want to thank the heroism of our men and women in the military. What they accomplished is truly historic, setting back the Iranian nuclear program untold number of years. It was a devastating attack. We appreciate you covering it. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Talk a little bit more about your role, sir.
And we have been just listening live at a Pentagon briefing there with the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, as well as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane. They're speaking about those airstrikes that the U.S. military made over the weekend in Iran. The president spoke about it at the NATO summit yesterday, and again this morning, that Pentagon briefing. Of course, this is a story that we will continue to follow. Right now, we want to get to some local news. Nearly a dozen people are in custody after an ICE operation at a local business. ICE says it was executing a criminal search warrant at the Buckeye Fire Equipment Company. WCNC Charlotte's Siobhan Riley was there as dozens of protesters stood outside, many waiting to hear about their loved ones.
ICE says about 300 people work at the business. This is an investigation they said they are taking very seriously. I talked with folks who waited for hours for their loved ones to be released. Dozens of protesters stood outside at Buckeye Fire Equipment Company in Kings Mountain Wednesday afternoon after ICE executed a criminal search warrant at the company. Josephine Bierstrom, who works at the business, says she and her colleagues were stuck inside since about 1:00 p.m. and investigators made employees give up their personal items, including their cell phones.
They made us all take everything out of our pockets. They patted us down. They searched us. They made us put all of our personals in a plastic bag. They taped the bag shut and wouldn't let us get to our personal belongings.
Lindsay Williams, an ICE spokesperson, said the operation was linked to claims of identity theft.
So potentially, like, these are allegations that the employer or somebody in their charge used fraudulent documents or incorrect documents to allow people who aren't authorized to work in this country to work.
Julia Perez is one of many protesters advocating for her cousin who was inside the building.
People have human rights. Those rights are being violated left to right.
Perez says her cousin called to say they were told to turn off their cell phones. That's the last she heard from her family member.
My biggest fear is my family being ripped apart. The community here supports the Hispanic community.
During the time we spoke with ICE, some employees were still inside while others were cleared to leave. Employees who were able to leave were escorted by officers and asked more questions.
They asked to see our ID. They asked for our birth date, where we were born, and asked us questions about whether we know about any illegals working at Buckeye or any illegals using somebody else's social security number.
Siobhan Riley, WCNC Charlotte.
Now, we are told that the number of people detained could increase. Williams says it's still not known if anyone with the company will face charges. Also in Kings Mountain, 2 adults and a child are recovering this morning after they were trapped inside a house. Take a look at this video. You see that large tree there? It's just laying on the house. Neighbors tell us the child inside was about 4 months old. Officials say thankfully everyone appears to be okay. Some big changes could be on the way for voters in Monroe. State lawmakers just passed a bill that would move the city's elections to even-numbered years and make them partisan. That means that candidates for mayor and city council would have to list a political party on the ballot. Supporters say that this would bring more transparency to the elections, while the critics worry that it makes the races even more political. That bill now heads to Governor Stein's desk. This morning, Waxhaw's Town Council is awaiting an apology after the mayor used profanity during a recent meeting.
I'm done with all y'all. I'm done. Done with the jokes. I'm done being coy.
That was Mayor Robert Murray. He used the F word a handful of times while expressing his frustration over the proposed tax rate. That language caught many people off guard. Some are calling for an apology. Others say they feel more understanding.
And if the mayor has to be accountable for his actions, then your apology needs to be as loud as your disrespect for what did happen.
I can understand his frustration, and we all lose patience from time to time, so try to be forgiving about that.
The Town Council of Waxhaw will have its next town hall meeting on July 8th. Right now, we're going to go live to Raleigh, where Governor Josh Stein is having a live bill signing. He's set to sign two House bills, House Bill 373 and House Bill 612. These are regarding discounted tuition for military students and regarding the North Carolina child welfare and juvenile justice system. Let's listen in.
On that, a bill of this magnitude doesn't just happen. It's a lot of people of good faith coming together, working hard to try to do something right for the children of North Carolina, and I'm incredibly grateful to all of you for what you have done. It protects the most vulnerable children and strengthens our child welfare system. The team behind this bill took a long time to look at some of the problems of our foster care system, and they came up with real solutions for how we can do better by our children. So I'm proud to sign this bill and grateful for the bipartisan leadership that got it across the finish line. Here are some of the ways that House Bill 612 will help our children. First, it will help us protect kids in the child welfare system from abuse and neglect. When counties need additional support for technical assistance, DHHS can play a stronger role and make sure that children across North Carolina are getting the attention and care that they desperately need. Next, it empowers a rapid response team from the Department of Health and Human Services, which will better support foster youth who are receiving emergency mental health treatment. And when it is an appropriate option, the bill will help more children stay with their families. Parent reunification, unfortunately, isn't always possible with every child, but the chance to live with relatives can help children maintain some form of stability in their lives. This bill will help relatives of those kids by offering financial support and Medicaid to those children. I'm grateful for the progress that this bill represents in protecting our children, and I share all of your commitment to building on this work and continuing to improve this system because our children deserve nothing less. Many people have worked so hard to get this law to where it is. I want to thank again Senator Batch for leading the efforts, Representative Alan Chesser for the bill's lead sponsor, Representative Alston, Loftus, and Bell, who co-sponsored and championed this bill in the House. Next, I want to thank our team at the Department of Health and Human Services and to all the stakeholders and advocates in this room for their tireless efforts to make North Carolina's child welfare system work well for children. The bill is coming in coordination with DHHS's launch of PathNC. PathNC is going to move our state's disjointed child welfare databases towards a unified real-time system that they can access so that it doesn't matter which county the child is in, the social worker will know what the child is best needs. Social workers will be able to use assessment tools, manage cases, and access data from all 100 counties. These tools are these are the tools that our frontline staff need to better protect children and to assist families. Finally, I want to recognize that this bill passed unanimously in both chambers. I want to thank the General Assembly for coming together on a bipartisan basis to do what is right by the children of North Carolina. I think that that is something that the people of North Carolina are thrilled to see in these divided times. It's now my pleasure to bring forward Senator Batch. Senator Batch.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Governor Stein, for having us in the People's House this morning and to sign 2 pieces of legislation that are so important to our state. I'd like to start by saying the last 20 years I've spent in the child welfare system, oftentimes helping one family at a time. And that's really important. I still do it today. But when I was elected in 2018, I decided that I needed to take the skills that I've learned and the lessons we've learned over the last 20 years and really put that to effort so that we could actually change hundreds of thousands of families instead of trying to save one family and one child every single day in a broken and fractured court system. And so this is a monumental bill, and I can't thank all of the individuals who have tirelessly worked on multiple versions of this bill. I think, Representative Chester, we were probably at 39 by the time we finally got this done. But what that means is that we actually care, right? You should bring the stakeholders in at first. You should talk to all of the individuals who are involved in the child welfare system, and they are the ones who actually get credit for this. We are literally vessels to go ahead and promote legislation, but all of the individuals in the room, which I don't have enough time to call you all out, you mean so much to the families in North Carolina, and you have changed the trajectory of their lives. And so I want to thank each and every one of you for that. I'd also like to
You've been listening live here on WCNC Plus in Raleigh, where Governor Josh Stein is holding a live bill signing. He's speaking regarding House Bill 612, and you see one of the bill sponsors there. That is State Senator Sidney Batch, who represents the Raleigh area. This is regarding North Carolina's child welfare and the juvenile justice system. Again, House Bill 612 that the governor is expected to sign momentarily. We are going to take a quick break, but of course the live coverage continues right here on WCNC Plus. We're going to have another update on weather and traffic in about 2 minutes. And then our own Jane Monreal is going to take over from our live Impact News studio here on WCNC Plus. So make sure that you continue to watch all day.
Good morning, everybody. One more heat alert that we have for the rest of the week. This is a heat advisory from 2 till 8 o'clock. However, I'm going to narrow that down even further. I think it's really between about 3 and 5 that we're feeling our hottest. High temperatures getting in the mid-90s this time, still feeling like 105 plus. So not a big improvement, but it is a very low improvement in the meantime. But we're back to actually the lower 90s Friday heading into the weekend. So 96 is the top, the last day that we're going with our alert for the heat. Each day has a chance for storms. Today, as early as 2 o'clock, storms will start to pop in the area. Better chances heading into the evening. Same thing for your Friday and Saturday. Let's head over to Majestic to see what's going on.
All right, good morning, everyone. We are following this water leak right here. Take a look at your TV screen. All of this water is spreading in a neighborhood in southeast Charlotte. It's at Circle Ave and South Chase Street. You can see crews are on scene fixing this right now. Thankfully, we don't have any major impacts. This is in a residential area. Let's switch it on over to my live traffic map. I want to show you where it's at. You can see it right here highlighted. Today, though, you're going to want to avoid that and instead take a Crescent Ave. Hope you have a great day.